It's gone, the engine's gone. Kimi Raikkonen, now he is going to score no points. Felipe Massa wins.
2 weeks ago in Valencia, the finish of the European Grand Prix was perhaps the highlight of the European Grand Prix. Victory for Felipe Massa, second place for Lewis Hamilton, that moved him 6 points clear in the championship. But at the end of one of the most processional races of this or any other Formula One season. So the timing is absolutely perfect to return to the fresh air of the Ardennes and to one of the great circuits in Grand Prix motor racing and the almost guaranteed excitement of the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. It's not quite the fastest circuit in Formula One, but it's the longest and it's supremely demanding. From the G-forces through Eau Rouge to the chaos that's brought by the ever-changing weather. It's a circuit of spray and mist, quite often red mist. Spa generates extremes of emotion, and anyone who wins here is championship material. This is a circuit where Formula One stops being a procession. But it's still a circuit that can be dominated, and that's what Kimi Raikkonen has achieved here in recent years for both Ferrari and McLaren. The world champion returns here this weekend, having won the last 3 Belgian Grand Prix. And you get the feeling that Spa, like Monza next weekend for the Italian Grand Prix, is the very heart and soul of Grand Prix motor racing. So coming up, we've got live coverage of qualifying for tomorrow's Belgian Grand Prix. But Mark Blundell, what exactly is it that makes this place so special?
I think you have to say it's probably the best circuit in the world for a Grand Prix driver, Steve. Every driver who drives around here will have a big smile underneath their helmet because it's a challenge. You've got some corners like Rouge, Pouhon. They're 180-mile-an-hour corners, and that doesn't exist on any other circuit in the world.
You have to feel sorry for Valencia 2 weeks ago. They put so much into their first Grand Prix, didn't really get a race, and Formula One can't afford too many weekends like that.
No, I think some of that is down to the regulations in terms of what the cars are like. It's very difficult for them to overtake, but I also feel that maybe the circuit could do with being a little bit shorter, could definitely do with being opened up in a couple of places to try and promote overtaking. But it just didn't quite have the buzz to it, and maybe we were looking for a Monaco and we didn't get that.
And one other ingredient that Spa always has is this unpredictable weather. It's unlikely that the rain is not going to play some kind of part in qualifying today or the race tomorrow.
It would definitely play a part. Spa is renowned for being wet at some time during the weekend, and the really weird thing with this, because it's such a long lap, it can be dry one half and wet the other, and that can really be a massive problem for teams and drivers.
And the conditions might be an advantage to Lewis Hamilton and McLaren. Lewis without a victory in the last 2 races, but he still managed to build this cushion at the top of the Drivers' Championship, a 6-point lead. Felipe Massa in second, has to be regarded as a four-man at Ferrari, and their leading contender for the title. And Kimi Raikkonen, after a storming start to the season, he scored only 22 points in the last 7 races. And you'd have to think that this Belgian Grand Prix, which Raikkonen has won for the last 3 years, would be his last chance of salvaging his season. More on that in a moment. But how lucky was Massa to hang on to his win in Valencia? Ted Kravitz reports on a moment of controversy 2 weeks ago.
Race stewards decided this was an unsafe release from a pit stop. Unsafe for Massa, unsafe for that cameraman on his knees, and unsafe for Sutil. But Ferrari argue they didn't deserve a drive-through penalty because Massa backed off. It's like breaking into a bank, but leaving without any cash. Whereas in the GP2 race the day before, Chandok ignored the lollipop and barged ahead of his rival. Still, Ferrari remain unrepentant.
We are happy, and we don't change our approach because something's happened in the last race, so that's it.
You think it would have been especially cruel if they'd given you a drive-through penalty like they give the guys in the,
yes.
in the GP2?
Yes.
you can see 100 times, you will see that there was not really an unsafe release of the car, plenty of space to run, and you can see much worse situation in the pit in this year and a couple of years in the past years. So honestly, we respect the decision, even if we don't agree, that's it.
Ferrari have escaped mid-race penalties this year. Kimi's disintegrating exhaust in France and his accident with Sutil in Monaco both went unpunished and led to perceptions of favouritism.
Having been at Ferrari and know firsthand what goes on, people do have misconceptions about what does go on, and that leads to a lot of speculation.
So you can assure us all, and people watching at home, it's not all some massive stitch-up. Ferrari don't get special treatment from the FIA.
Ferrari do not get special treatment from the FIA. Ferrari work diligently with all the systems. They work with the FIA to try and improve things in the future. They have a good rapport with the FIA, and they try and find solutions with the FIA. The fact they don't come out and criticise the FIA doesn't mean that Ferrari are getting special treatment.
Very quick and very competitive in Monaco, and I was the quickest by far this year, even with more fuel in the qualifying. So I think we just need to have the same mentality and come here with the mentality of win the race.
The 2007 world champion was very much king of the castle in the early days of his title defence. His victory at the Spanish Grand Prix put him 9 points clear, but since then his grasp on the title has looked increasingly fragile. Points have been hard to come by, victories have been non-existent. Over the past 8 races, the Finn scored just 28 points to Felipe Massa's 46 and Lewis Hamilton's 50. So where's it all gone wrong for Raikkonen? At times the problem's not of his own making. And there was France, where a surefire win disappeared in a puff of exhaust smoke. But there are also times where Kimi can't deny being the architect of his own downfall. Increasingly, though, his hopes of victory have all but vanished on a Saturday afternoon, after a poor qualifying session has left him struggling to make up ground come race day. That's something Kimi and Ferrari hope they've overcome after focusing on the issue at last week's test in Monza.
It's just racing. Sometimes it doesn't go as you want, and it can usually, when it gets difficult, it seems to take a while to get back to normal. But hopefully we found something that will improve our situation.
If you start behind, it's really very difficult to overtake. So more focus on preparing the tyres for a quick lap in qualifying. We know that Kimi is very strong, above all in the pace in the race is fantastic. So what we will do is really to try to focus as a priority in qualifying.
And if he's going to win anywhere, then the omens are good for a comeback at Spa. On 2 occasions here, he's beaten Ferrari. Last year, he joined them and racked up a 3rd successive Belgian Grand Prix victory. That's a feat that only Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna can claim.
It's nice to come back here. I enjoy to come to this circuit. It's nice to drive, so for sure, at least I know that I know my way around here. But hopefully we can find a good way and good setup and get some good results again.
But if he keeps making mistakes like this one yesterday, he'll rapidly find himself in a supporting role, helping teammate Massa in his championship battle against Hamilton.
100% Kimi will do it, because as we always said, the team interest is the priority in Ferrari. And when, we will see.
You were very forthright in your views 2 weeks ago, Mark. You felt that now is the time for Kimi Raikkonen to start supporting Felipe Massa. You still have that view?
Yeah, I do. I really do have a strong view on that. I think now the time has come that Raikkonen needs to make a play for Massa in any way he can. And I think Massa's been the guy who's been putting it on the front row. He's been winning races. And Kimi Raikkonen is just a little bit off his game. And I think, you know, even though he's got the performance of the car, he's still not quite there.
It's been qualifying that's been the problem for Kimi. It's always been a setback to the start of his weekend. 2 races. How important is this afternoon coming up here for him?
Well, I think it's important for Kimi Raikkonen to, you know, reinstall the confidence with himself and the team to say that, look, you know, I am current world champion. I can get the job done. He just seems to have faded slightly, but it's difficult as well, because when you watch him during the Grand Prix distance, half the race at the beginning is a little bit flat and he's not doing the job. All of a sudden he comes alive and then he's the quickest guy on the circuit. And that's a concern and a worry as well. What the understanding of that is, I don't know.
And he's the master of this place, having won the last 3 Grand Prix here. One thing Ferrari have to get right is their work in the pit lane. It wasn't just Massa in Valencia, it was Raikkonen as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really unfortunate situation. Raikkonen being released too early, and unfortunately as he does get released, he takes the refueling guy down with him. The guy's got some injuries, some broken bones. It's something you do not like to see, and it's something that shouldn't really happen. Procedures are in place. Everybody knows what they're doing. Ferrari do have a light system there. Just watch the lights. They're actually still red. He's not going to get released properly. But, you know, drivers get a little bit frustrated and do things what they shouldn't do.
And did the stewards get it right as regarding Felipe Massa?
I feel they did get it right. I think a lot of people have been against what I've said as well, but I feel like that situation, race conditions with the pit lane like it is, nothing happened. I think that's the right decision.
So you're with Ross Brawn. No conspiracy against McLaren?
At this point, no conspiracy against McLaren.
OK, let's take a closer look at this famous old circuit. Set in the heart of the forests of the Ardennes, we're about 100 kilometres east of Brussels, and this weekend Spa is hosting its 41st Belgian Grand Prix. Martin Brundle can guide us round.
Traditionally, it's the high-speed corners such as Eau Rouge and Blanchimont that everybody talks about here. But now that the track is so smooth and the car's so stable, actually, it's corners like Pouhon here that really challenges the drivers. Falling downhill at over 185 miles an hour.
That's why everyone says it's probably one of the best corners in the world.
And this circuit is also potentially the toughest of the season for engines. What sort of question mark remains over Ferrari in that area after 2 blown engines in the last 2 races?
Well, you've got to feel that there's going to be some concerns in the red car situation here, because you see in Raikkonen and Massa lose engines is unlike them. They don't normally have reliability problems to that extent. And you're right, Steve, with this circuit, probably 85% of it, they're in a full throttle situation. So a lot of stress, a lot of load going through the engine at that stage.
Cooler temperatures might help in that respect.
Yeah, definitely. The engines will be breathing a little bit stronger as well, and I think all the guys will be a little bit happier because you get a bit more punch. But saying that, long way around here, long distances, stress and strains, still tough for an engine.
Eau Rouge is a great corner, maybe not quite the challenge that it was 5 or 6 years ago. It was turn 9 yesterday that was catching everyone out.
Yeah, in the slippery conditions, because it's one of those corners where you're still accelerating downhill, and then you've got to just try and tidy yourself up to get into the apex. And you kind of can get yourself in 9 times out of 10, but getting off the exit's difficult. And you can see a lot of the guys struggling there, just a lack of grip. And one of those corners what entices you in faster and faster.
And even a light rain shower will cause so much entertainment, won't it?
Around here it will do, and a lot of the guys will go out in the wet just to make sure they can find the levels of grip on this circuit in particular, because it does change, it's so variable.
That was problems for the drivers yesterday. There's a problem for Jenson Button this morning in the warm-up. His warm-up lasted about 300 metres before he pulled to the side of the track, apparently with fuel pressure problems. Not that his hopes were that high for this weekend anyway, but he's been talking with Ted Kravitz.
Well, Jenson, unfortunately, you spent this morning session watching it on the TV after that fuel pressure problem. Did you learn anything just watching everybody else out there?
Yeah, it's starting to rain again. There's a lot of grip when it's wet. You can run slick tyres. But yeah, I think Ruben's had some problems with a few things. So not a very useful session, I don't think, for us. And pity that I did about 300 metres.
How does that put you? What kind of place does that put you for qualifying? What do you think you can do?
Well, we just got to spend a lot of time out on the circuit. I mean, it wasn't looking that special this weekend anyway. But now, yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult as I'm the only one that hasn't driven in the wet. So hopefully it's going to be dry for quali, and we'll wring its neck and see what we can get out of it.
Good luck.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Jenson Button at the start of another tough weekend. After the break, we'll have more on Lewis Hamilton's prospects and McLaren's form. We'll have the ITV F1 competition as well. But sad to report this past week the death of one of America's greatest racers, Phil Hill, one of the great stars for Ferrari in the late 50s and the early 60s. He played a big part in Mike Hawthorne winning the World Championship and then won it himself in 1961, so becoming the first American driver to win the title. And he died in California last week at the age of 81. Phil Hill, who also won here at Spa from pole position on his way to that world.
Hamilton was leading the championship heading into the Belgian Grand Prix last year, but back then McLaren was a team in turmoil. There was discord between the drivers and a $100 million FIA fine to come to terms with. This time round, the mood's very different.
The situation's a lot different to last year when I was here. You know, last year we had so much drama going on around us, and so we weren't really able to focus on winning the championship, winning races. But now we're here, we can focus on our job and get on with it.
And that job may be just that little bit easier here thanks to the cooler conditions.
It is quite cold here compared to all the other races, especially the last race, and we were the harder tyre, and even a harder tyre than we had last year. So I think for them, the guys in red, it's going to be perhaps it's going to be a little bit harder for them, but for us I think it suits our car fine. So we should be very strong this weekend, I think.
Well, the pit lane is clearing here at Spa, and the tension is increasing because everyone here knows that this Belgian Grand Prix and the Italian Grand Prix at Monza next weekend, perhaps the two vital races in the battle for the World Championship. And Mark, McLaren took a rather conservative approach in Valencia, a point-scoring approach on behalf of Lewis. Would that be the approach here at Spa this weekend?
Well, I don't think they'll be too conservative. I don't think they can afford to be, because normally when you get conservatism, you get a little bit of complacency and people start making mistakes. And I think they have to make sure that they're in touch with Ferrari, because at the moment Ferrari look like they got outright performance, Steve, and looks a little bit stronger. Even though there's a bit of a difference on tyres, McLaren warms the tyres up a little bit more quickly. I think the Ferrari will still be a little bit stronger on the whole if it stays dry here.
How much do these cooler temperatures actually help McLaren?
They do help them quite a lot, but saying that, I think there's still that outright performance edge what Ferrari are carrying, and I think that's going to be difficult for McLaren to make up. I may be well wrong come the end of qualifying, and in many ways I hope that's the case, but if there's a little bit of rain as well, keep your eyes on Kovalainen and Lewis. They're very strong in those conditions.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Constructors' Championship, with McLaren having outscored Ferrari in the last 4 races, and Ferrari's lead in the defence of their title is now down to just 8 points. And Toyota, with 2 solid points scoring performances in their last 2 races, well, they've emerged as the strongest of the midfield runners, opening up a 10-point lead over Renault in that battle for 4th.
But doesn't help their tyres. Toyota are suffering from the cold track temperatures. But recently they've secured 4th in the Constructors, thanks to impressive performances by Trulli and Glock.
So far I think we went in the right direction in terms of developing the car, especially for my feeling, and that changed before Hockenheim quite dramatically, and Hockenheim had a really good pace, and Budapest as well, was second on the podium, 2nd place in my first full-time career, and it was just a good start, I would say.
Timo fundamentally probably prefers a more pointy car, slightly more oversteer. Actually, he's not always quicker with that setup. I think one of our successes this year is we have a less peaky car, so it's a bigger sweet spot, and I think that helps both drivers considerably.
Can you explain then, Jarno, how Toyota have got so quick in this second half of the season?
Well, it's down to the work of the team, which has been improving a lot in terms of aerodynamically the car, and they have pushed really hard in order to get quicker. And basically, this is the point. I mean, the team has done a good job, and we are looking always very competitive.
You staying here next year?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we have a long-term contract, and a lot of speculations in the last couple of weeks that maybe somebody would replace me is not right, so I'm quite happy to be here next year again.
I mean, I'm really happy by the progress of the team, but still 6 races to go, and I think we have only 8 points on our, or 10 points on our competitors, so we still have to do very strong by the end of the season.
You happy to stay here next year?
At the moment, we look like we are a strong team, so yeah.
And do you get the sense now, Mark, that at long last Toyota are starting to deliver?
I think they are. I think they've had a great second half of this season. I think Timo Glock has come on no end as a driver. He's kept truly honest, and I think that's made both the guys work extra hard to try and make sure they compete against each other. Very important they work together, and that's been the case. But Toyota have made big progress in the aerodynamic department.
And it's important that they'll be together at the team next year. That consistency is vital in the development of a team's potential.
Yeah, definitely, because you've got the experienced hands of a Trulli, you've got also a strong qualifying driver as well, but also you've got the youth and the enthusiasm of someone like Glock. And as I say, they are working together, and I think that will stand in good stead for next season with Toyota as a whole.
Well, one thing we hadn't forecast, the sun has come out in the last couple of minutes. A lot of confusion, I'm sure, around the circuit as to exactly the kind of weather conditions we're going to get here, deep in the forests of the Ardennes. Qualifying for the Belgian Grand Prix is coming right up, and once the grid is decided, then go to the ITV F1 website for a lot more on Belgian Grand Prix prospects, plus all the stats and the background and the video replays from the season so far. And go to the website as well for everything you need to know on the ITV F1 competition.
Last time we asked you what was the capital of Finland. Phil Lyon from Southampton knew it was Helsinki, and he'll be joining the McLaren team as their guest at Monza. This weekend, we're giving you and a friend the chance to attend the Goodwood Revival from the 19th to the 21st of September, where you'll experience the golden age of Grand Prix racing and have the chance to mingle with famous faces from motorsport past and present. You'll have 2 nights accommodation and full VIP hospitality on Saturday and Sunday, including paddock access and grandstand viewing. You'll also be given official revival programmes, radios and souvenir posters, plus a copy of the limited edition book, Goodwood Revival, the First 10 Years, including a special print signed by Sir Stirling Moss. Not only that, but the winner will also enjoy an unforgettable drive around the Goodwood Motor Circuit with Sir Stirling Moss at the wheel of a historic race car. So to be in with the chance of winning this great prize, just answer this question correctly. Goodwood Motor Circuit celebrates its 60th anniversary this year, but how is a 60th anniversary traditionally described? Is it A, silver, B, gold, or C, diamond? To enter, call 09049 596789. Calls cost £1 from a BT landline. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text F1 followed by your answer of A, B or C to 63337. Text also costs £1 plus 1 standard network rate message. Digital satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter for free at itv.com until 10 a.m. Friday the 12th of September. Entrance must be 18 or over. Phone lines close 5 p.m. Tuesday the 9th of September. And entries made after the closing time will not be counted but may still be charged.
Well, the weather is always a hot topic of conversation here in Spa. You can pretty much guarantee it's going to rain at some point over the weekend, but knowing where and when that rain is going to fall and how heavy it's going to be as well can have a huge impact on a team's result. Richard Cregan is the team manager at Toyota. Richard, what kind of information do you have to work with?
Well, at the beginning of the week, I mean, we get an update from Charlie from FIA, and that comes from Météo France. We all contribute to that, and then basically that gives us an idea for the whole weekend. We've got our own weather lady as well, Claudia, who's from Météo Berlin, and she interprets that information for us and then adds to what from her own experience, and then basically comes up with this document here, which really shows how the day is going to progress for us, broken down into an hourly rate. Now this is for Friday, for example, and it shows us the rain risk, it shows us track temperature, it shows us what kind of air temperature we're going to get, and that's really what you plan your runs on. And from that information then you're able to see when you need to go out. Sometimes you'll see basically that cars will go out very early in the session, and that's because they maybe expect that it's going to rain halfway through. So you're trying to get the best out of your session.
Just how reliable is the information?
I mean, it's weather, you know, and we're in Spa. So, I mean, if you put all that together, it's probably around 70% reliable, and the rest is really stomach feel, I think.
So what's it saying for qualifying this afternoon?
Hopefully it's going to stay dry. I mean, you know, it can change very, very quickly here. That's the problem. We've got a couple of showers pretty close by. They can come in at any moment, but we're just hoping it's going to stay dry.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay.